There's a question almost nobody asks the moment they wake up, and yet it quietly shapes how your entire body runs for the next several hours. It's a simple question, almost childish. The kind of question a curious physicist would have loved to ask before turning it into equations. Richard Feynman used to say the best way to understand a complicated system was to ask it the most basic questions possible, the kind a kid would ask without any hesitation. So let's do exactly that with your own body. What's the first thing your stomach should actually receive the moment you open your eyes? Here's something most people don't realize. Your body doesn't shut off overnight. It just switches tasks. While you sleep, your organs repair tissue, your brain sorts through memories, and your digestive system goes into a kind of extended pause. Roughly 8 hours with zero food and zero liquid. That overnight fast, even though it's involuntary, triggers a series of chemical shifts almost nobody knows about. Your available glucose drops. Cellular hydration goes down. And the hormones responsible for waking you up, cortisol, mainly, start climbing right before dawn to get you ready for the day ahead. It's literally a biochemical alarm clock, going off before your phone even makes a sound. The problem starts when we ignore that natural signal and replace it with habits that seem harmless, but actually work against your own physiology. The most common example, coffee on an empty stomach. Millions of people around the world treat a hot, strong cup of black coffee as the ideal way to greet the day. But coffee is acidic and stimulating, and hitting an empty, dehydrated stomach with it can irritate your stomach lining and push cortisol even higher, right when that hormone is already at its natural peak. For a lot of people, the result is that jittery, anxious feeling, mild heart racing, or stomach discomfort, which they blame on having a sensitive stomach, when really, it's just a bad sequence of habits. So what should actually happen first? The answer is surprisingly simple. Water. But not just any water, consumed anyway. A glass of room temperature or slightly warm water, sipped slowly, before anything else touches your stomach. Overnight, you lose fluid through breathing and sweat. Small, constant losses that leave your cells mildly dehydrated by morning. That affects your digestion, your mental focus, even your mood. Rehydrating before introducing anything else lets your digestive system wake up gradually, activates your stomach lining, and prepares everything to receive food without a shock to the system. This is where it's worth borrowing another idea from Feynman. Even though he never talked about nutrition, he was obsessed with understanding the mechanism behind something before applying a fix. It wasn't about memorizing rules, it was about understanding why they work. And in this case, the mechanism is genuinely elegant. Your stomach produces hydrochloric acid continuously, even with no food present, as part of its natural rhythm. When that acid has nothing to digest, it starts to build up, and that buildup often creates a sharp, hollow feeling many people mistake for real hunger. Water arriving first dilutes that excess acidity slightly, protects your stomach lining, and stops your liver and kidneys from operating under fluid scarcity during the first hours of the day. After water, the next natural step isn't a heavy plate or a breakfast loaded with refined sugar. It's something much simpler, soluble fiber, or a small portion of whole fruit. Quick pause here to say thanks to the people who make content like this possible. If you're finding value in understanding how your own body works through a curious, science-first lens, subscribing to InfiniteLab means you won't miss the next episode on the science behind food. Drop a comment telling us what you'd like us to dig into next, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. It might completely change their morning routine. Now let's get back to the experiment. Fruit or soluble fiber has an interesting job biochemically. Foods like apple, pear, papaya, or soaked oats contain compounds that act almost like an intestinal sponge, absorbing water, smoothing out digestion, and feeding the beneficial bacteria living in your gut. That microscopic community, your gut microbiome, wakes up with you too, and needs the right fuel early on to help keep your immune system balanced, since a huge part of immune function is tied to what happens in your gut. Giving it fiber before processed sugar is like giving an engine the right fuel before demanding speed from it. What's genuinely worth pushing later, or at least not putting first, are ultra-processed, high-added sugar foods, pastries, sugar-coated cereals, packaged juices loaded with preservatives. These trigger sharp blood sugar spikes followed by equally sharp crashes, a pattern many researchers link to sudden fatigue, irritability, and that intense hunger that hits barely 2 hours after eating. Confused by that energy roller coaster, your body ends up craving more sugar to compensate, creating a cycle that repeats day after day, leaving people wondering why they never actually feel satisfied. If we tried to sum up this small morning investigation the way a curious scientist would, it'd sound something like this. Hydration first, then fiber or whole fruit, and only after that, the rest of breakfast, protein, healthy fats, even a cup of coffee, now with a stomach that's actually ready to receive it. This isn't a rigid recipe or a magic formula. It's about respecting a logical sequence your own body already knows, even if modern life, with its constant rush, has trained us to skip the steps. Feynman used to say nature has no human imagination. It just follows rules, and our job as curious observers is to uncover those rules without decorating them. Every morning, your stomach is quietly showing you its own rules. It asks for water before stimulation, fiber before sugar, calm before urgency. Listening to those signals doesn't require any advanced biochemistry, just the same honest curiosity that turned a physicist into one of the most admired minds in the history of science. Next time you wake up, before reaching for your phone or turning on the coffee maker, try this small personal experiment. A glass of water, a 2-minute pause, then a piece of whole fruit or a handful of natural fiber. Watch how your body responds that morning. Compare it to your usual mornings and draw your own conclusions, exactly the way any researcher would approach a phenomenon they don't fully understand yet. At the end of the day, the science of food is really just curiosity applied to everyday life. And there's no more accessible, more personal laboratory than your own body every single morning.